quilting friends, it's Carolina Moore, your favorite sewing and quilting YouTuber, and I just want to thank you so much for all of your comments and your love and your emails about the last video that I did in this kind of just me talking to you format. Whenever I create a quilting tutorial video and it's just me alone in my room here talking to the camera, I really do imagine you sitting on the other end. I'm just looking in this camera right now and I'm seeing you and you're hanging out and just watching, and we're hanging out together. Like, that's the way it's always been to me. Like, I might not know exactly where you live or what you look like, but we're friends and we get to hang out right here on YouTube. And so getting to do that on an even more personal level and you enjoying that means so much to me. So let's get into today's big subject. I mean, you saw the title. Today I'm doing something totally crazy and I'm giving you permission to quit. If you need a permission slip, I will write it out for you. Just let me know that this video is your permission to go ahead and quit. I said it. You can quit. And here's what I mean by that. So as quilters, most of us, you might be exempt from this, possibly, but most of us, we buy fabric with the intent to make a project with it. And sometimes we do make that project, and sometimes we do finish that project, and sometimes it even makes it to its desired end goal, whether if that's on our own bed or on our own sofa or as a gift to someone. Sometimes fabric makes it from the store to its final destination without any hiccups or bumps. But that sometimes is, in my experience, pretty rare. Unless there's like a specific deadline, like a bridal shower or a baby shower or baby birth or something, this deadline is sometimes a little fades away. And especially when we're making a quilt because we wanted to try a new technique. Like, I want to try English paper piecing, or I've never done a Dresden before, or I want to do a different spin on a log cabin, or I saw this really cool pattern, or I started this block of the month, or whatever it is. And you start something at the beginning and you work on it. And somewhere along the way, you lose your passion for it. And it sits out on your table for a while. And eventually, like, it gets shoved in a corner. And maybe that corner gets cleaned up and it gets put in a box. Maybe it stays in the corner. Who knows? But we have these, some of us call them UFOs for unfinished objects. Some call them PIGS, P-I-G-S, for projects in garbage sacks. There's a lot of names. Drop your favorite name for an unfinished quilt down below. I want to see them all because they're hilarious. But there's a lot of names for quilts that are unfinished because it's a pretty common thing. And sometimes they get unfinished because we picked something that was a little beyond our skill level. And so it just needs to wait until our skill level gets there and then we'll pick it up again. Or maybe it got set aside because life happened. I know that there were a lot of quilts set aside when people started doing a lot of mask sewing early on in the pandemic. And so quilts got set aside so the sewing machines could be busy making masks instead. Sometimes life gets in the way. Sometimes you get a new job or a family member needs you. Things get put aside for reasons, and sometimes they get picked up back up later and sometimes they don't. And if there's a project in the corner, in a garbage sack, up on a shelf in a box, and you still want to get to it someday, absolutely, keep that. If your passion, if your love for that project is still there, yeah. But if that project is like a guilt, like a weight, you can feel yourself like slumping when you think about this quilt that was never made, I'm gonna give you permission to quit that quilt. You can, you could throw it away. Not the best option, but hey, if that's what gets it out of your house and that's what gets that weight off your shoulders so you can find love for quilting again, then that's not the worst solution in the world. Keeping it would be the worst solution in the world. But there are lots of things that this quilt can do that don't include sitting on your shelf. you can find a charity to give this quilt to. There's lots of quilting charities that make quilts. There are church groups that love to make quilts. There are guilds that are looking for charity quilts to make and accept partially finished and partially sewn blocks. You might have a friend who is looking to like practice their long arm quilting or practice their free motion quilting, and you have these unfinished tops that you're not going to do anything with, or you have these almost finished quilts that they just need to sew a few seams, and then they can do their first couple practices on a real quilt with their new long arm instead of worrying about messing up like a quilt that matters, right? So there are lots of things that you can do with these quilts so that they can find use in the world, which they're not finding on your shelf or in your corner. And I'm actually speaking from experience. I did this. Several years ago, I had the opportunity to join with Art Gallery Fabrics and become an Art Gallery Fabrics socialite. And I was so scared of doing this because I had so many unfinished projects that weren't made with Art Gallery Fabrics. And part of my commitment to Art Gallery was that I was only going to sew with their fabrics moving forward, which, by the way, love it, don't regret it at all. But I had all these projects. So I went through the ones that I was going to finish before my term started, and the ones that I wasn't going to finish, I gave them away. I gave them to the guild, I gave them to friends, I gave them away. And it was probably a year later that I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw a quilter, I don't know if you're watching, but I saw a quilter who was posting a picture of my blocks. And they had been sewn into a quilt top, and she was quilting this quilt top. They were unfinished blocks that I'd given to the guild, and they were now giving her a chance to practice her free motion quilting. And it was then going to be a charity quilt that was going to be given to someone. So these blocks that would just be collecting dust and space, they now have a life as a quilt that is giving someone warmth and comfort. So there you go. There's your permission slip. If it is no longer giving you joy, if you no longer have passion for it, look at it, figure out, did it teach me anything? Did it give me any opportunities? Be thankful for those things that you learned when working on this quilt, because those things that you learned, you can take to your next quilt. You can give this quilt or parts of quilt away and really just take all your passion and put it towards your next project. That's all I have for you today, my friends. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up. Let me know down in the comments if you enjoy these kinds of videos, because I certainly love chatting with you. And if you're new around here, make sure you subscribe. I have so many quilting videos and I'm constantly putting up more. I don't want you to miss out on any of them. Thanks for watching, my friends, and I will see you right here real soon. Bye for now.